Hello! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you had a fantastic holiday season filled with food you like to eat and your favorite people, or maybe you had some very quiet time. I hope your holiday was how you wanted it to be. I have been super excited to share this with you. I've been sitting on it for about a month just to make sure that it got to whoever it was supposed to be going to before I shared it online. I wanted it to still be a surprise over Christmas. And you never know. I'm sure the person who was receiving this as a gift does not follow me, but that doesn't mean that some way, somehow, it might accidentally get spoiled to them, and I would hate to do that. So yeah, this is a piece that was commissioned for me in December by my best bud, love her so much. And this is that a portrait or a landscape of a house? I feel like houses, low-key, this is probably a hot take. I think houses are a portraited item, but I also personify everything. Anyway, this is a gouache painting, a gouache painting of their house that they live in. There's some good history about this house and this property, and all of that fun stuff. The gouache I'm using is the whole bean acrylic gouache. It's my favorite gouache. I really like how creamy the colors are. I just have the basic 5-color palette. I have this smaller one that was my beginner palette. It's almost empty. And then I have a palette that's exactly the same. That's the full-size tubes. I'll try to remember to link them down below. I personally really like these because it has red, yellow, blue, white, and black. And I find that I can mix pretty much any color I need. And it kind of has forced me to practice color mixing. But this is my first, big project using gouache. And I'm really excited with how it turned out. I'm really happy with how the colors of the reference were. They were taken on a very cold winter day. It was overcast. It was actually perfect photos for referencing because there was no harsh lighting and I could see how the colors would interact in different seasons. It felt like it would have felt kind of cold and juxtaposing if I had painted this in a winter season, so I took the liberty of painting the house in a more summery season. So I made the yellow a little warmer, and the sky is like a robin's egg blue. I'm not sure how well my camera picks that up, but once we get to the sky, it's like a beautiful tealy greeny blue that just suggests evening in the summertime before it starts turning purpley and ready for, the stars to come out. So that's what we're up to here. Anyway, as you watch this, I'm gonna yap a little. So in 2026, I have decided that I'm going to gung-ho this art business thing. I feel really good about the progress that I made last year and the learning that I did, because last year was the first year of the art business. We were officially a year old as of pretty much when this video comes out. So there was a lot of things that I learned about running the small business and packing the orders and all of the little admin-y things and the processes that make sense to me. And now I am ready to scale a little. And that means doing scary things like posting my process videos online. I have never really shown a process like this before. And even in this one, there is a section in the middle that is missed because I took this piece to work to paint it over my lunch break because I was feeling a little stressed out that week. And it was a nice distraction from the stressors of work. But yeah, things like that I'm less comfortable with that I know would help me improve as an artist and creator are things that I'm planning to do this year. So keep your eye out for that stuff. We'll figure out exactly what that is moving forward. I'm also planning to do a bit more for the mail club. So for those who do not know, maybe you're new here, I have a monthly mail club that I send out to people who subscribe. It's $7 a month, And historically, you have received a letter, generally a print, and then if it's your first month, you'd get a little cute mail club sticker and my advertisee sticker with the QR code to my shop on it. But moving forward, there's more of you now. And so I realized that maybe you might want some voting power. So each month there will be a theme vote held across my Ko-fi and my Instagram stories, just because those are the places where I get the most traction. So follow me on Instagram if you want to participate in the votes there. But also in your letter, you will receive, starting with the January edition, a beverage recipe. I shouldn't say you're getting a whole beverage, you're getting a beverage recipe. I decided to include this new addition to the mail club because some of you may know this and some of you may not know this, but I used to be a bartender for almost a decade, and then I was briefly a barista and have been getting really into coffee since around the beginning of the pandemic. So your girl makes a mean cocktail. By the time I had retired from bartending, I had designed 3 or 4 different cocktail menus for running restaurants that I had been working at. And I just am very passionate about coffee on the side. But I miss designing a cocktail and then giving it to people and watching them enjoy it. Not that I can do that in the same way with Mail Club because I'm not in your house, but it would, I think, tickle the same sort of spark to design a drink and then give it to you. So my plan for that is, depending on the season and my mood, you'll either get a coffee/tea hot drink recipe, or you will get some sort of cocktail-mocktail situation. I do think most of them that I design, I'm going to try to have a mocktail version around, because I know a lot of us are not drinkers. I don't even really drink alcohol, but I know some of you do also love a bevy. So that will be included with the Mail Club stuff moving forward. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, the link is always down below. Oh yeah, for this video, I edited out all of the times where I went to dip my paintbrush back in the paint, because sometimes I would be like 1 second and sometimes I'd be like 45 seconds over there. I have no idea what I was doing. So that is what the cuts in the clips are, but I've shown you every single brush stroke on the page here. I also used the size 2 and size 4 watercolor standard brush sizes for this. I like how my acrylic gouache works with my watercolor brushes over acrylic brushes. I just find that it works more how I want it to, but it is personal preference. So use whatever brush combination you want with your mediums. It's your art if you are taking any pointers from this. This clip is also predominantly the base colors, so in a second we're gonna cut to a much more finished version of this house, just because I did make a lot of progress on the little details while I was at work the following day while I was working on this, and I did not film there because I just forgot my camera set up, I'm gonna be honest. But after these base colors are in, I go back again and add some more deep shadows and some details like little lines in the siding and all of that stuff. As you can see, this is it. Also, hold on. Sorry, very excited to talk about this. But on the left there, very briefly, you might have seen a Tupperware with paint in it. That is my homemade Stay Wet palette, and I really highly recommend, if you are doing a gouache piece, that you consider making one of those. It is a Tupperware that made it really easy to bring the paint around, but it is a Tupperware, and in the Tupperware you take a paper towel, you fold it up to fit the bottom of the Tupperware, and then you soak it through just enough that the paper towel is wet. Then you cut a piece of parchment paper down to the size of your Tupperware, and also soak that through either by putting it in a cup or like running it under the tap. You can actually tell when it gets wet. Then you lay that on top and you can use that to keep your gouache wet. You shouldn't put the lid on all the way. You kind of have to find the right askew state for when you're between sessions. But this palette stayed wet for 7 days because I used this palette after I was finished with this piece to do its tandem piece so that the colors were the same or from the same mix. But oh my god, I really do recommend this Stay Wet palette. It took all the pressure off of trying to get the piece done in one sitting away. I knew that I could pick away at it when I was feeling like I had the energy to. Because sometimes painting is a whole ordeal. I don't know if you experience this as an artist. I love the idea of painting. I love doing the actual painting. The whole setup and tear down and washing and palette scrubbing, all of that stuff is so much at one time for me sometimes, especially because if you're anything like me, you're an artist, while you are painting the thing, you're not taking care of yourself. I'm lucky if I have a glass of water beside me when I'm painting, and who knows the last time I ate, gonna be for real. That's just how it is over here. So knowing that I can close my palette, and a big part of why I'm not doing the self-care things while I'm painting is because I'm worried that my paint is gonna dry. But the Stay Wet palette, even with heavy body acrylics, is a huge game changer. I've been using it recently. All of the pressure to get the entire piece done in one sitting is completely gone. And it actually made me work better because I wasn't stressing about if I would get it all done or if I'd have to remix a color that's very close to this color that I'm using, but because I let it dry, I now have to try again. All of that stuff was gone. I just knew that the colors that I had were mixed and ready to rock, and that made it way easier to make a better quality piece in the end. So I do highly recommend trialing a Stay Wet palette with this kind of setup. But also, the Stay Wet palettes are really expensive anyway, so I don't even know that I would ever buy one. I think I would just continue using this. Maybe I'd get a 9x13 Rubbermaid style Tupperware or something if I was doing a huge piece on a huge canvas. But I don't know that I would buy the actual Stay Wet palette. I'm full of controversial opinions today. If you've never used gouache before and you're thinking of giving it a try, I really do recommend an acrylic gouache. It's kind of the best of both worlds in regards to how it acts. It has the gouache texture on your brush while you're painting it and how it behaves, but it dries solid like acrylic and it won't reactivate with water, which is really useful for getting those tiny little lines there, because to make a pretty thin line, it does have to be a pretty wet liquid for the paint, as opposed to an melted ice creamy texture. You'd want a milky texture, but that is kind of a challenge to do if you're using water-based gouache, because every layer of paint has to be thicker than the last, or it will kind of spread and pull as you reactivate the layer underneath. But because this is acrylic based, it doesn't do that, and it makes it much easier, in my opinion, to utilize. I came from water-based gouache, but this is my preferred medium now if I am doing gouache. I kind of like this and a heavy body acrylic. Those are my two main types of medium, but yeah, I really recommend an acrylic gouache. I think Liquitex makes one as well. It's a little cheaper than the whole bean one, so if you're not quite sure if it would be something for you, you could always get a couple Liquitex ones and give it a go. I also just want to say that I had the most fun painting this. I kind of forgot how much I love doing a little landscape and also an architectural piece. For those who do not know, I don't know if I've talked about it on here, but before I started the art biz, when I was a teenager and doing art all the time when I had time for it, I was a hyper realism kind of girly. I have this beautiful portrait of Ollie Sykes somewhere in my parents' basement that looks just like him, made out of pencil. And that was the kind of art that I liked to do all the time. But I've kind of switched to a more illustrative style, and this kind of feels like a nice in-between of the two, where it has to be realistic enough that it looks like the thing that I was painting, but it's still got that fun, stylistic undertone, and I would absolutely do another one. So if you know a house that would like its portrait painted, please let me know, because I would love to do this again. Like, this is probably one of my favorite projects of the first year of owning my art business, and I'm obsessed with how the two play together, which we'll see later on. At this point in the painting, I am just adding the last couple details, like the roof lines. I was gonna say shingles, but it doesn't have shingles, I don't think. I think it's a metal roof. And things like the window trimmings, that kind of stuff. Like, we are in the home stretch at this point in this painting, and it is really all coming together. There's really not a whole lot of detail here, which I kind of like about this style as well. There's like the indication of siding with that mustardy yellow. There's some shading that has occurred, and then there's the stripes. Over here on the right side of the house where I'm currently painting, there is a giant field of fireweed, which was all dead in the reference photo because it was taken once again in like the late fall / early winter season. And so I had to do some research on what it would look like. And I also wanted it to kind of feel like a field full of flowers where they were kind of all blending together. And I actually think that this is probably one of my favorite parts of this whole piece. I kind of forgot about it until I started painting it. But I used 3 different colors of pink to create this kind of highlights, lowlights situation. And I just kind of left little spots of the green in it. I considered adding some darker shaded green in there, but I thought that would make it look a little too muddy and too busy, and so I didn't. But using my number 2 watercolor brush, I just added a ton of little dots here that kind of were wispy. And then over them I added with this lighter pink a couple more dots, and then later on I add with like a highlighty pink that's like pretty close to white. Just a couple little wisps off the top to suggest, because they're kind of lavendery shaped stalks. They're like thin, tall cones of flower that are on the top of the weed. So after that beautiful description of the fireweed, I feel like there's nothing else that I could possibly talk about other than the things that scare me that I want to try to do with this business this year. They scare me because they would feel so surreal, but I know that I would be so proud of myself. So a couple of the heavy hitters would be having my prints sold at a local shop. Now, I haven't actually spoken to any local shops about if they're interested yet, so it's entirely possible that this one might be easier than I am hyping it up to be. We'll have to see. But that would be so crazy to me, is having my prints sold at like a local gift shop or something. The next one's a little bit more lofty, and that is having 500 mail club members. Right now there's almost 20 of you. I think there's between 16 and 18 last time I checked, which is so cool and so fun, but 500 is very far from that. So that would be game changing for me. If I had 500 mail club members, I could focus on art full time if I wanted to, and not work a day job, and feel very financially stable, and know that I could create whatever I needed to and wanted to, and sell it as it sells, and just live off of the mail club money mostly, which would be insane. And it would really help, you know. Me supporting my dream of seeing my labor mean something for my own life and not somebody else's dream or somebody else's life. Anyway, so the next one that would be really cool is having my designs on clothing. I want to do this in an ethical way if I do it though. Like, obviously there are things like Printify and other print-on-demand services, but I'm not sure how ethical those actually are, and they're pretty opaque about that on their websites. So I'm trying to figure out if I would like hand paint the designs myself on clothing, or if I could do my own sort of printing here. We'll see. The next one that would be crazy would be doing a commission for a local business. Something small though. Like, I'm not a logo designer, but I would love to make like a sticker for them to hand out at the till, or maybe design like a seasonal coffee cup. I think that would be really fun. Doing another exhibition at a gallery or cafe or something like that would be really fun. Haven't done that since last January, and I think that would be really silly. Next would be selling a commissioned family portrait. So I do stylized portraits. They're available on my website if you're interested. I think it would be really cool to sell one of those. I've just done them as gifts so far for people in my life, and everybody does seem to like them. But I haven't also been advertising that I do it, so this is another thing where I'm like, hey girl, maybe if you started talking about it, people might know that it's an option. So that's where we're at. The next one would be doing another mural for a local business or a private mural again, something like that. I did a mural in September. It was the most fun I've ever had staring at a wall. I really highly recommend. And that would be so cool. So those are a couple of my dreams for the future. And these goals do seem kind of big and very scary from where I'm sitting right now, but I don't feel like they're entirely unattainable. Most of them anyway. Obviously, I can't control how many people sign up for the mail club, but a lot of those goals are based on me reaching out and being brave. So I'm hoping that maybe 2026 is the year that I am brave. And we're now moving on to the finishing touches of this piece. So what I do is I measure the border after I've painted the piece, and I tape the piece in a way that allows me to have this border before I start painting, so that it ends up being the size that me and the client have agreed upon with the border. I hope that makes sense. So I measure with a pencil very lightly along all of the edges, and then I connect the lines. I usually do 2 to 3 dots on each edge, and then very carefully I use my paper cutter to cut along those edges and pray to God I don't mess nothing up. So then I just cut the edges down to size carefully, making sure everything's lined up. We're not messing it up at this stage of the game. And then that's that. I do a little signing, I put who it's by on the back, all of that sort of information. I'm personally not showing that to you this day because it's private information and it's about somebody's house, so it would give away where this is. But anyway, these are the two together. I think they look fantastic. I love how the colors are playing together, and I'm glad that I used the same base colors for each. You can see how bright the yellow house is versus the gray house / barn. It's a barn, not a house. And yeah, I'm loving how they're playing together with lighting and everything. It's a bit clearer off camera. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. Again, my name's Aiden. Go by Tuesday Enthusiast online. Thanks for listening to me ramble. That's all for this week. If you're interested in any of my art and anything like that, it's down below. And I will see you in the next one. Remember to stay crafty.